Hey.
I secretly wish that my cousin wasn't related to me so I can date him. I'm currently 19 female, he is 22 male, and the most beautiful person on the planet, both inside and out. We first met when I was 16, and I had an instant crush on him. And I didn't know about him, but when he turned 21 and our family went out to drink, he told me in secret that I was the most beautiful girl he'd ever seen. Although I was so happy, I knew better than to do anything, and then chalked it up to him being drunk. The next day, he sent me the text, "Drunk talks are sober thoughts," and that he didn't regret telling me that. Now, we have this weird thing where we meet up, talk, and pretend like we're a couple, after we drive away far from our hometown and drive back home low-key disgusted with ourselves. Every family meeting is super awkward because we're paranoid our parents can sense what we're doing and we act super distant. They have no clue though. I wish I could just turn this off because I know it's wrong, but I can't. I sent an application for a college out of state, so maybe I can get out of this situation. I know this might gross people out, but I just needed to get this off my chest. Raccoon scare gone wrong. God, I cannot believe this is happening to me at this age. Today I fucked up by removing my girlfriend's tattoos in Photoshop and realizing I'm not as attracted to her as I thought, and now I'm terrified for the future. Me and my girlfriend exchange news frequently. They never leave our phones or computers, and we trust each other on that. I like to mess around in Photoshop as a hobby, and oftentimes I use my girlfriend's news for practice. Change the lighting, remove and add things in the background. Sometimes I edit her into a Playboy cover for a laugh. A few days ago, I bought a new laptop as my old one died some time ago. I installed Photoshop on it yesterday and wanted to mess around with it. I found some tutorials online about Photoshop tattoo removal and decided to give it a try. Seeing as I had no work the next day, I also decided to get high. I gathered some pics of my girlfriend and went to work. My girlfriend has a big tattoo on her upper chest, covering her collarbones and the upper part of her boobs, 2 smaller pieces on her hips, 1 between her shoulder blades, and some smaller ones on her legs and arms. When we met, she already had all the major ones, and she did 2 more while with me. It has never bothered me. I thought her tattoos are cool. But before falling for her, I never imagined myself to be with such a heavily tattooed girl, but I hadn't really thought about it since then. Now I edited the pictures, starting from the smaller tattoos and eventually getting rid of the big chest one. I followed a tutorial and made a damn good job in my opinion. I ended up doing 3 pics, and when I was admiring my work, I got hornier than I ever had expected in my life. I've always considered my girlfriend's body to be a 10 out of 10. That combined with her wonderful personality made me fall in love quick and hard, and I didn't ever think to wonder how she would be if she didn't have tattoos. Well, now I know, and to me she would look infinitely better. I, 19 female, just woke up at around 2 a.m. and had to use the washroom. This is actually kind of routine for me as I've always had to go to the bathroom at least once or twice during the night. However, my simple task wasn't so simple tonight. Now I should give you the layout of my home. My boyfriend and I live in a small studio cabin. It has a compost toilet and a little kitchenette with a big sink, and the cat litter box is right beside it. So on with the story. I got out of bed and put on my hoodie to head outside so I could go into the main house on the property to use the washroom. However, since the outside light is motion activated, I didn't see the 3 raccoons right in front of my door. I've already had one bad experience with the raccoon on my front porch in front of the door and it being aggressive when I opened it. So when I saw the raccoons, I instantly freaked out and backed up into the house. The raccoons were eating the food out of the small green bin we keep outside because it smells bad, and they weren't leaving. And apparently I had to pee really bad. I had 10 seconds before I could no longer hold it in. I tried to hop on top of the sink, but I was too short and couldn't get up without waking up my boyfriend. The 10 seconds passed and I couldn't hold it in any longer. So I tried to go over to the cat box because that would be better than just pissing myself. But I missed and got piss all over the floor and around the box. My boyfriend hadn't woken up, so I panicked and grabbed 2 towels and cleaned up all the piss, took a sponge and cleaned the floor and litter mat that also got pee in it, all the while covered in piss myself. Once I was done, the raccoons of course left, so I took off the pee-soaked underwear and clothes, put on a new large shirt, and went inside to take a shower. I'm now laying in bed writing this, hoping to dear God my boyfriend never finds out. I can't believe this happened to me. The embarrassment is infinite. Today I fucked up by slapping the beef in front of my 6-year-old. This happened last night. Let me set the scene. Yesterday my wife, 36, and daughter, 13, tested positive for COVID and are banished to one or both of their bedrooms. My oldest son, 18, never leaves his room because video games equal life, but has also been feeling pretty shitty despite a negative test result, though he has already had COVID once. This leaves my youngest son, 6, and me, 35 male, being the only ones in the house to feel fine, test negative, and have never contracted the virus, and thusly have free reign of the rest of the house. As any decent father or husband would do, I sent them all a group text explaining that if this was a zombie virus, they would all be dead and the 6-year-old and I would be our family's sole survivors and have to find a way to carry on without them. They laughed, called me an asshole, and asked when dinner would be done, and so I began preparing the meal. The scene is set. The 6-year-old is in the kitchen with me as I gather the onion, garlic, butter, potatoes, etc. He is quite helpful and especially loves helping in the kitchen. As we finish up our dicing and the prep work, I go in the fridge and grab the corned beef that was prepared the night before. I place it on the counter and ask 6-year-old if he was excited for dinner. He asks, "What are we having again?" Forgetting what it's called. To which I replied excitedly, "Corned beef hash," and smack the rat meat with my hand. It's not smack this chunk of protein with my dominant hand, but as luck would have had it, I did smack it with the hand that had my Fitbit secured around the wrist. At the exact moment I salted the roast, my Fitbit begins violently vibrating to alert me that I have reached my step goal for the day. I remark, "Cool." Apparently that got me my final steps for the day. 6-year-old asks, "What did? Slapping the beef?" I suppress a chuckle and reply with a simple yes, thinking that would be the end of it. Nope, wrong. 6-year-old proceeds to tell me I need to slap the beef every day to make sure I meet my step goal. Then he tells me he wants a Fitbit so he can slap the beef and meet his step goals. After this, he runs at a full sprint down the back hall towards, but not into, my room, currently housing my wife and daughter, and tells the two of them that Dad got a step count by slapping the beef, and he's going to get a Fitbit so he can slap the beef and broth of us, and going to slap the beef every day to make sure that we get our steps in and meet our goals. I head down the hall towards him. I hear my wife and daughter laughing hysterically. I kneel down, look him in the eye, and tell him in as normal of a tone as I can manage, "That's the secret men have kept from women for thousands of years. You're not supposed to tell them that. It's for men only." And I wink. His face lights up. He loves secrets. Who doesn't? He proceeds to tell his mom and sister to forget what they heard. He tells them that they know nothing. Lastly, he informs them that we will slap the beef when they aren't around. Then I took off my Fitbit and made a delicious meal. Today I fucked up by pranking my son and scarring him for life. I feel like I'm a pretty cool dad. I wouldn't say I'm anything special, but I'm super easygoing, supportive, and encouraging towards my teen boys. For the last few years, Josh, my youngest son now 14, has been playing pranks and jokes on me and editing the videos and my responses to show his friends. He's even put some on YouTube, but they've never really taken off to the extent that he had hoped. Everything has been fairly harmless, and I've never had an issue being the brunt of his pranks. I have, though, been secretly plotting my revenge. About 6 months ago, I contacted a TV network in my home country, which put me in touch with the producers of a popular prank show aimed at kids. After much back and forth and a few telephone calls, the producers agreed that they would help me take my revenge on Josh in an elaborate to-be-broadcasted prank that would see him finally as the protagonist. My eldest boy, Blake, 15, was in on the prank and was to play a part alongside some actors that the show was going to provide. 2 days ago, one day before the intended prank, while Josh was staying at a friend's house, the TV producers and crew came to my house to set up all of their equipment, hidden cameras, and props for what was to be a home haunting special for their Halloween broadcast. The episode will never be broadcast. Both Josh and his friend, who was also not in on the intended prank, came home none the wiser and spent the early afternoon on Xbox in his room. As prank time approached, I made the excuse of having to go and pick up some takeaway, and it was during the time that the haunting was due to take place. I drove my car to the next street, pulled up, and was invited into the makeshift producer's gallery in a temporary building on a neighbor's property. Immediately, the crew sprang into action, rolling their cameras and coordinating their actors, my other son Blake, and their crew on the radios. I was paying attention to the presenter, who was being filmed alongside me, observing the prank that was about to unfold, when all of a sudden I heard the words "terminate, terminate, terminate" scream from the seat beside me. I thought this was part of the show and giggled with delight as I took my attention off the presenter and faced the camera monitors next to me to watch the prank begin. To my absolute shock, the hidden cameras at home were showing my son and his friend engaged in oral sex. I froze up for a moment and processed what was going on and ran back to the house, where I was forced to intervene and tell Josh everything that was happening. I've never seen my kid so absolutely horrified in his life. He went pale, vomited everywhere, and cried uncontrollably for about 2 hours. His friend was equally distraught, and I'd done my best to keep them as calm as possible while I tried to work out what to do. I'm not sure that I've done the right thing. Oh, so you do pick up after yourself and I'm just exaggerating? Let's give every man for himself a try then. Years ago, when I just moved in with my then boyfriend, now fiancé, he was terrible at picking up after himself. He was a self-admitted mama's boy and went directly from his parents' house to our shared home. Barely 3 weeks in, I was fed up, So when I told him that I was tired of picking up after him and acting as his maid, he hit me with, "That's not true, we both clean up equally." After a bit of back and forth, he said, "Well, if you don't believe me, then let's split the house. You take care of your half and I take care of mine." I took that literally. Got painter's tape, divided every single room in half, including the kitchen counter, the inside of the fridge, the bathroom counter. And he was cocky and suggested 2 months. I shortened it to 1. Not even a week in, his half looked like a pigsty and he had no more food because I stopped grocery shopping and cooking for him. The only exception I made was cleaning the toilet and shower because I was not able to use a filthy bathroom to make a point. He brought me flowers and chocolate, apologized for his behavior, and started learning how to be an adult. We are 8 years into this relationship and he is an amazing man. We are about to get married.